And by the way, I sent a message to Seth. Once again, he wants to talk about not responding or whatever. I got in touch with Tony. We talked to Tony. That probably ain't happening. Got in touch with the dog handler. Guess what? That ain't happening either. And that ain't even on my decision.
Yeah.
Because Seth doesn't know how to open his fat fucking mouth and give everybody the truth. Or what he does know, he didn't want to tell nobody, thinking that everybody's going to be sure sympathetic to his bullshit. When I told her exactly how many dogs, where they all went, what they've all done, she's like, there's nothing I can really do or offer at this point other than to assist in a search if needed.
Yeah. Oh, so you did actually talk to her?
Oh, yeah. Talked to her for over an hour and I think a half.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Last night.
That's good.
So once again, your client
mm-hmm.
is the nicest way to refer to this fuck.
I haven't even talked to Seth since last night. He told me to take a break. A couple days ago, he told me to take a break. So.
Yeah, how convenient.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I told my mom I'd at least see her tomorrow because she knows I'm going to be gone for the next probably week or so down there in Tennessee. So then she's like, you go find that boy after that with your dogs. I'm like, yes, ma'am, we'll do that. So
I gathered, now this is just me assuming, so we know that how that goes. I may be way off, but I feel like it had something to do with this conversation with Bobby Simmons, because Bobby has started communicating with him again instead of going through me. That line of communication's opened back up, and I don't know.
We'll see for how long.
Yeah.
We will see. I promise you, if Bobby told Seth anything of what he's told us, Seth opens his fucking mouth, I promise you, it won't ever open again.
Yeah. Well, I'm just as much in the dark right now about what's going on as anybody else. Like, I'm not getting updates. I have no idea.
You're supposed to love your children more than you hate each other.
So, and that's what anybody who's reached out to me, I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, you get in touch with Chloe?
What's that?
I said, when you get in touch with Chloe,
mm-hmm.
I suggest you tell that bitch to lose my fucking number.
This is Colin's house. We'll put a C on there. This is house number 1. This is house number 2. And dogs have already been back there. I know I keep repeating this, and I know I sound like a broken record, and I'm sorry. But, I mean, I'm trying to let it sink in. Dogs already searched this area. Dogs already searched Ben Hill Road for Summer Wells also. The dogs have already searched. So is it possible that Summer Wells has been overlooked, the same as Kathleen Moore had been overlooked? Is it possible that when this search was done on the property of the Wells home, inside the Wells home, around the Wells home, a 5-mile radius around the Wells home, is it possible that Summer Wells has been overlooked? Is it possible that she is in one of these areas that we have pictures of? Now we're going to watch what the sheriff had to say on why the dogs overlooked Kathleen Moore.
I can say, she is deceased. Today we positively identified her body based on tattoos. Nicole came in around 11:30 this morning that she was discovered in the woods off of Kamala Drive, she was about 50 yards northeast of Colin Knapp's home. And so it was a very heavily brushed area. She was actually covered. You can almost describe she was definitely covered on purpose to make sure nobody can come upon her. And, even as detectives will tell you, even when you're 2 feet away from her, it's hard to see that her body was there. I will say, K9 did track that area. She was definitely covered on purpose to make sure nobody can come upon her. And, even as detectives will tell you, even when you're 2 feet away from her, it's hard to see that her body was there. I will say, K9 did track that area. But there's several factors that come into it, wind, weather, decomposition. So, they did their best, but that wasn't just the focal point as we were looking at this investigation. There was an investigation. There was numerous places that we had looked at, the dumpster where the cell phone was found, at Sam Seltzer's restaurant, the dumpsters that were brought to a location to go through. And I want to reiterate that. There was a lot of evidence that had been found as dumpsters. And when that was found, there was 14 additional industrial-sized dumpsters that went out there that our detectives combed through. Over 20 detectives were combing through these dumpsters because that's where all the evidence was leading to.
Off a football field, hidden by the environment, on purpose. Law enforcement stood 2 feet away and couldn't tell that she was there. So is it possible that Summer Wells has been overlooked? Is it possible that Sebastian Rogers has also been overlooked? It wouldn't hurt to get a second set of eyes out there, right? A third set of eyes, a seventh set of eyes out there. What would that hurt?
But yeah, we can talk about this one. Actually, JB, did the boyfriend live that close to the area? Yeah, it's extraordinarily close. This is the row of homes on Carmel Avenue where Colin Knapp lived or lives. And of course, he was denied bond earlier today. I tweeted that out as well. So Colin Knapp being held on second-degree homicide and will not be released.
Dogs do not always find human remains after they're deceased. They had the dogs back there within a week of Kathleen's murder. Her body was just placed there within the week. Now, I'm not going to get into all of the nasty details about decomp. We've all seen what happens with roadkill. Okay, that's a decomp process. Human bodies go through something very similar. And the odor is an odor that you will never forget. Unfortunately, myself, I have smelled a deceased body. And that is a smell that you will never forget. I promise. Kathleen Moore's body was right behind this house, right here, right through their backyard and into this wooded area right here. And nobody noticed an odor. The dogs were back there within 5 to 7 days, I believe. I don't know the exact date that the dog was back there searching right now as I'm recording this video, but I know that it was fairly quickly since she was reported missing, last seen alive on November 28th, and her remains were discovered on December 7th. So again, I ask, is it possible that Summer Wells has been overlooked? The reporters just asked about the dogs not finding Kathleen during their search, and the sheriff is getting ready to elaborate a little bit more than he already has. So let's listen.
One of those things, it's just one of those things that, we're human beings. We did our best. We've done our best. We had drones up. We had deputies out there. We had canines out there. And it's one of those things, she was a very wooded area, covered up, wind, weather.
Did you just hear that? Dogs, drones, deputies. And she was overlooked. Dogs, drones, and deputies. Triple Ds. And she was still overlooked.
We had drones up. We had deputies out there. We had canines out there. And it's one of those things, she was a very wooded area, covered up. Wind, weather, decomposition, those all play factors in a search. So I'll go back to it. It's everything in life works better when it's a team. And that lead our citizens, we mean it. We want our citizens to work with us. And that's what happened. The citizens were out there working with us. And those dogs do a phenomenal job. But this is the facts of life. We have to work together as a team. And when we work together as a team, those are those things that came together. And we were able to find Kathleen. That was a critical part. But, I'm proud of the work our detectives did. The focus of the investigation actually was those dumpsters. That was a focus for us. There was no evidence that led us that she was going to be 50 yards into that wood line at the time. What was priority for us was getting in those dumpsters and making sure she was not in there. As horrible, as gruesome as that sounds, it's the truth. And that's what we had to focus on at the time. But as we go back, was that area going to be searched again? Yes, because we did our due diligence in those dumpsters. We were going to go back to other areas to keep searching. We know it was critical to find her. We know it was critical to Bruce Bartlett's office at the state attorney's office to make sure that they get prosecution. And I know, and I heard people, how can you make that arrest? How can the state attorney get a warrant when there was no body? There was a lot of evidence. But we know finding her, 2 reasons. One, most importantly, is for her family. I can't imagine a family, one is knowing she's dead, but even worse is not knowing where she is. Second is to make sure we get prosecution, we get justice in this case. So I can understand that part where people say, I can't believe that, how can you not find her? It wasn't the focus at the time because all the evidence led us to believe she may have been in one of those 14 dumpsters.
Knowing that this is a common thing. Dogs are not 100% accurate. Polygraph tests are not 100% accurate. Okay, people can fool a polygraph test. Obviously, environment can fool a dog, multiple dogs.
I'm in touch with the dog handler. Guess what? That ain't happening either. And that ain't even on my decision.
Yeah.
So now that we know, the dogs were 2 feet away from Kathleen Moore, who had been deceased less than a week, and they missed her. Now that we know that, wouldn't it be helpful if we had another search. More eyes, more noses out there sniffing around. Why would you turn away searchers that could find your stepson? And that's all for now. Make sure that you're subscribed, ring-a-ding the bell, hit the thumbs up, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. May you have the kind of day that karma feels you've earned. And until next time, I love you bunches.